Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and this is a really exciting video for me. This is going to be my top 10 favourite video nasty horror films. If you're not familiar with what a video nasty is, in the UK in the early 80s, when home video made its way here, certain politicians and general do-gooders freaked out at the idea of these so-called shocking and violent movies being freely watched in the home. Principally, they were worried that children would be watching them and would be encouraged to commit murder and rape and things like that. So they campaigned to get these movies removed on the basis that they were affecting children and children were killing each other and doing all kinds of horrible stuff. It sounds crazy, but the UK government actually listened and they passed a bill through the Obscene Publications Act, which effectively had 72 movies banned in the country. They were removed from shelves and destroyed, and they became known as video nasties. And anyone found selling one of these movies would face a hefty fine or even imprisonment. So really crazy outlook, but this did actually happen. Thankfully, over the years the country has mellowed out and the majority of these movies are now freely available on DVD or Blu-ray. And I have to say, a lot of these movies really aren't very good. It makes you wonder what anybody found offensive or shocking about them. And I think in some cases it did them a favour becoming video nasties, because they've kept that infamy by having that video nasty label. But a lot of the movies on the list were actually pretty good. And in terms of finding the top 10, it was more difficult than what I expected. I thought in terms of finding 10 really good films, I'd be scratching around a little bit, but there's a lot more movies I could have put on my top 10, which sadly I had to leave out. But I have mused over it for quite a while, and I picked out what are my personal favourite top 10 video nasties. So, the first one at number 10 is Expose, which is the only British film to make it onto the video nasties list. This is just a cheap bootleg. It's also known as House on Straw Hill. I have that on Blu-ray, but I just wanted to hold up the UK video nasty title. And this is a really intriguing film. This is about Udo Kier, who is an author. He goes to this house in the country to write a novel. He's a bit of a struggling author. And he's married to this woman played by Fiona Richmond, and they hire like a housekeeper or a secretary played by Linda Hayden, who has obviously got some kind of dark secret connected to Udo Kier's character, but you're not kind of sure what it is. And over the course of the film, it builds up and leads to the kind of gruesome ending. But it's a really great movie. A lot of sort of style over substance. It was kind of sort of marketed a little bit as a sort of sleazy little movie with Fiona Richmond plastered all over the posters. But there's actually a lot more going on in this film than just that. It's, as I say, a rather unique, clever, very atmospheric storyline. Certainly worth checking out if you ever get round to it. So number 9, another Udo Kier film, is Flesh for Frankenstein. This one supposedly produced by the art guy. What was his name? Andy Warhol. This is a crazy movie, just really out there film on the Frankenstein legend, with Udo Kier as the Baron, trying to find the perfect body parts for this male and female Frankenstein creatures. So he goes around sort of chopping people's heads off and limbs and things like that. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this movie. Very kind of arty, and it manages to be both kind of sleazy but quite aristocratic at the same time. Really good style to this movie. Yeah, one of the more entertaining and kind of watchable ones on the video nasties list, I think. One that I really enjoy. Number 8, one that I reviewed recently, is Cannibal Ferox. The infamous Italian cannibal genre. These movies were no stranger to controversy here in the UK, and this one I really enjoy. I like this one because I find it more entertaining. It has more of an adventure feel to it, with the people going into the jungle to disprove cannibalism and running afoul of the cannibals and finding out that cannibalism is real. So lots of gory moments in it, some real life animal cruelty, which is really unpleasant, but a good movie, an entertaining one. So number 7, and this movie I'm pretty confident a lot of people out there, this will be their number 1. But for me, number 7 is Cannibal Holocaust. Now, I did say in my Cannibal Ferox review that Cannibal Ferox is my favourite cannibal film, and I think it is, but I couldn't put this one lower than Cannibal Ferox because in terms of how well this film is made, it is incredible. It is such an incredibly well made film. One of the most unpleasant on the list, one that I do think deserves its infamy and deserves to kind of hold that spot as a really shocking, vile, nasty film, but incredibly well made. Great use of political and social commentary in this without it being too obvious, like in other movies. Very realistic, real life stuff again going on in this movie, but just I respect it for how well this is made. It's almost a perfect movie in what it attempts to do, which is shock and upset you and things like that. I didn't put it any higher on the list because for me, it's not one that I watch all that often. And to be honest, it's because of how unpleasant it is. It doesn't really make for great evening viewing. So yeah, not one that I watch very often, but a film that I highly respect and regard as a very, very good film. What's that? 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6 is The Beyond, Lucio Fulci's sort of supernatural zombie film. I love this movie. A woman inherits a dilapidated hotel and finds that it's actually a gateway to hell, which leads to a load of supernatural things and then a bit of zombie action at the end. There's all kinds of stuff going on in this. There's lots of gore, lots of face ripping and eye gouging, which was very common in Lucio Fulci films. But I think my standout gore moment in this is the spiders eating the guy's face scene, which was just incredible. Only Lucio Fulci could do a scene like that. So yeah, really, really love The Beyond. One of my favourites. Number 5, again this will be popular with people, is Evil Dead. Sam Raimi's cabin in the woods type movie. Teenagers going out to the woods, get terrorised by demons, and a lot of gory nonsense ensues. Really simple in its plot and its execution, but really, really well made. The camera work in this film is incredible, like nothing else that I'd ever seen from movies of this time. And interestingly as well, this is one where when this was banned, the company that released it were one of the few companies to actually stand up against the British law people and fight to have this movie remain on the shelves, which I think is pretty cool. And they ultimately won because it was unbanned after a while. But yeah, you all know Evil Dead. It's a great movie. Number 4 is I Spit on Your Grave, the movie that was banned at the time because of its shocking rape scene, which is still unpleasant now. And then the woman goes on the revenge and kills off the guys that did it to her. I really like this film. I think it's a really good film, really well made film. Yeah, it's a bit sleazy, it's tacky, it's unpleasant in places, but you know, all signs of a great horror film in my opinion, and it's really well done. I find it a little bit strange that the director of this movie was actually married to the woman who stars in this film. It'd be a bit, I don't know, it just seems a bit weird to direct your wife in this kind of film, thinking of some of the scenes that are in it. But yeah, never mind. But yeah, I Spit on Your Grave, great movie. Right, top 3. So number 3 is Dead and Buried, which is a very, very strange film to be on the Video Nasties list, in my opinion, because it is such a quite glossy feeling film. It's got a lot of class to it, this film has, which not very many Video Nasties had. Most of them were quite tacky and sleazy. This one, not at all. It's a really well-made, nice-looking, quite classy in places film. It's got a really good storyline about outsiders being killed off in this village, and you're not really sure what's going on. The town sheriff seems to be the only person who kind of sees anything wrong with things, and it's got a strange, almost kind of like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers feel to it, where, you know, one person knows that something's not quite right, yet the whole town are just either blind to it or in on it, that kind of thing. Really, really good film. I really enjoyed Dead and Buried. It does have its fair share of quite shocking scenes, though. Seeing scenes of regular-looking townsfolk ganging up on people and killing them in rather unpleasant ways is pretty shocking. So I can see why it's kind of on the list in some places, but in terms of the look and feel of this film, it's really quite unique to the list. So number 2 of my favourite Video Nasties is The Burning. I absolutely love The Burning. One of my favourite slashers, one of my favourite Video Nasties. I just think it's amazing. It's right up my street in terms of horror movies. Set at a summer camp, set by the lake. It's a slasher movie. It's got some great gore in it. A great looking killer. The characters are good in this movie. They're not annoying, and yeah, I just think it's great. I love the story of the caretaker being set on fire and then coming back to take revenge on people. The raft scene is amazing. So yeah, my number 2 choice, The Burning. I always think it's interesting as well that this, to say it's an 80s slasher, it's never had a sequel, never had a remake. It just stands there on its own, which I like. I'm not saying I want that. I just think it's interesting that this never spawned a series or anything like that. And my number 1 favourite Video Nasty of all time, Zombie Flesh Eaters. Any excuse to show this original VHS tape as well, which is totally banged up now, but never mind. But yeah, Zombie Flesh Eaters, my favourite Video Nasty, the ultimate zombie film, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. Lucio Fulci was at the top of his game in this movie. He just seemed to get the zombie lore and things like that. I love the gore. The story's great. It looks really good as well. It's one of those films that as time goes on and you get it on DVD and you get it on Blu-ray, it only looks better and better. The gore effects still look absolutely amazing. And yeah, can't say enough good things about this movie. It's a film that I could watch now, to be honest. I'm sure everybody has seen this as either Zombie Flesh Eaters or Zombie or one of its other titles. But yeah, my number 1 Video Nasty of all time, Zombie Flesh Eaters. So that is my top 10. Let me know what you think of that. Would any of those movies make your top 10? Or is there some that I missed off? Let me know. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.